grief.
It's something that none of the families know how to go through, so when you kind of share the experience and share what's helping.
Anger.
All of our pictures, that's all we got. You know, all of our videos, that is everything we have of Kaylee.
Frustration. Depression. The loss of a loved one is never easy, and the loss of Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Maddie is no different. They were torn away from their families, killed one terrible night in November.
Moscow police have confirmed they found 4 people dead.
And now, 1 year later, as a 28-year-old man faces trial for killing them, we speak with their families.
This interview is an opportunity for you to have a voice. What do you want people to know?
How has this year been?
We've been a whole year without our kids. You know, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow.
She's missed everybody's birthday. She's missed her own birthday. She's missed every holiday.
They are fighting for their loved ones' memories and legacies.
Kaylee was chosen because of the bond that she had. There was a sense of jealousy and somebody from the outside wanting to destroy that. So we can't let that happen.
They are fighting for justice.
And that's what we're doing right now. We're playing a part in our daughter getting justice.
They are fighting because those 4 young students can no longer fight for themselves.
We just decided from that point on we had to, you know, it took one kid, it can't take the rest of us.
Detectives arrested Bryan Kohberger.
And with the death penalty on the table, the only suspect in the case, Bryan Kohberger, is fighting a courtroom battle for his life. The 28-year-old, who celebrated a birthday 8 days after the murders, was a doctoral student in criminology at Washington State University, just a few miles from where Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Maddie took their last breaths. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, but extradited to Moscow on January 3rd.
Bryan Kohberger, behind bars, behind me.
Kohberger booked on 4 counts of first-degree murder.
And 313 days since Kohberger's arrival back in Moscow. 365 days since the day those 4 students were killed. We present to you a NonStop Local KHQ special report, The Idaho Murders, 1 year later.
It is hard to believe that it has been 1 year since those 4 murders in an off-campus home near the University of Idaho. Good evening, I'm Sean Owsley. This story, the victims, the investigation, the arrest, has captured the nation's attention. But for many of us, this is our home. These are our children, our neighbors. This is our community. And for this type of evil to have visited is simply hard to comprehend. 1 year later, the families of the victims continue to struggle to come to terms with what happened.
You could feel like you can't get out of bed some days. And so I would say the best thing is you just literally have to dig deep and make the choice to put your best foot forward. You have to get up for the people who love you and are around you and that you surround and that lives that you touch.
Literally in one fell swoop, just got the best of the batch. Like literally, like, you know, one night, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just, how did this happen? You know, all just amazing kids.
That's a small portion of my interview with Kaylee Goncalves' parents and John Webb's interview with Stacy Chapin. Much more with them in this special coverage. The aftermath of a crime so heinous, it is hard for the human mind and, more importantly, the families to comprehend. But we begin tonight with where things stand with the prime suspect in the legal case as the families yearn for accountability and ultimately justice. Even though that will help, it will never fully heal, ever. In the eyes of investigators, then WSU criminology student Bryan Kohberger became the prime suspect, just a few weeks after those 4 students were killed. But because of gag orders on the case, the world didn't even know there was a suspect until his arrest. Much of what we know about the investigation and the eventual arrest of Bryan Kohberger is through evidence that detectives compiled during their search for the killer. NonStop Local's Morgan Ashley with more on what could become the main arguments when the case makes it to trial.
A grand jury indicted Bryan Kohberger May 16th of 2023 on 4 counts of first-degree murder. The first place any evidence against Kohberger appeared was in the affidavit filed by law enforcement to show their reasoning for arresting him. Filed on December 29th, a day before his arrest, the 18-page document outlines the case against the former WSU doctoral student. From that, we know one of the surviving roommates at the King Road home saw someone in the house the night of the murders. 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular but athletic, with bushy eyebrows, similar to Kohberger, but certainly not conclusive. So investigators saw there was also a shoe print with a diamond-shaped pattern similar to a Vans shoe that was discovered just outside of one of the surviving roommates' bedrooms. But by far the most damning is a single source of DNA left on a knife sheath next to Madison Mogen's body. DNA from that sheath, along with trash collected from the Kohberger family home in Pennsylvania, and then a cheek swab taken after his arrest, showed Bryan Kohberger is a statistical match to the suspect, according to forensic investigators.
I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents.
But to the defense, the use of genetic genealogy has quickly become a sticking point, and they've filed multiple motions questioning its reliability. In fact, Kohberger's attorneys have already enlisted outside help, calling them experts in the field who say this type of DNA matching can be unreliable and, quote, bizarrely complex. The affidavit also outlines some circumstantial evidence prosecutors and law enforcement believe proves Kohberger is the killer.
In conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger.
They say there is video of his car and cell phone records pinging near the King Road home before and after the murders. Investigators developed a profile of his car, a white Hyundai Elantra, from video around the home and his apartment in Pullman. They say the video shows it in the area of the murders at least 4 times that night.
That car was in the area during the time of the murders, and we also believe that the occupant or occupants may have seen something. They may not know they have seen something.
Records allege Kohberger's cell phone pinged near the King Road home at least 12 times before the killings, either in the early morning or late evening hours. On the night of the murders, November 13th, police say Kohberger's phone pinged leaving his apartment in Pullman, but then stopped, signaling it was likely shut off or put in airplane mode between 3 and 5 a.m. The time of death for the students is believed to be between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m., according to investigators. They say Kohberger's phone began pinging again as he was traveling from Bosco to Pullman. That was around 5:30 a.m. Police say 4 hours later, Kohberger's phone pinged in Moscow near the home where the murders took place. Prosecutors demanded an answer, an alibi that could explain this, and Kohberger's defense argued their client often took nighttime drives alone and say that's exactly what he did the night of November 13th. They also did not provide details on where he was going or list anyone who could vouch for him, saying more would be revealed during cross-examination of witnesses. As we mentioned, much of this case against Bryan Kohberger does remain sealed, which means that much of his defense is unknown as well. As far as we know, the murder weapon remains missing, as does any kind of motive or even whether Kohberger was aware or knew of these 4 students. For NonStop Local, I'm Morgan Ashley.
The case against Bryan Kohberger is already one of the most document-heavy cases currently being argued in the Idaho court system. Lori Vallow was arrested, tried, and sentenced. And comparatively, that case has about half the documentation filed in totality that Kohberger has right now. And we are months, possibly years, from an eventual verdict. NonStop Local's Guy Tannenbaum spoke with the 2 criminal defense attorneys about what we can expect as this case slowly winds its way to trial.
Prosecutors have stated their intent to seek the death penalty against Mr. Kohberger, which complicates things procedurally even further. By all accounts, everything to this point has been done by the books, which means we could be in for the long haul.
There's a natural inclination to want justice and to want it quickly and swiftly. You want to be certain, and particularly in a death case, there should be, no room for error.
Spokane-based attorney Kevin Curtis says the average time for a death penalty case to get to trial is generally upwards of 2.5 years.
So I would anticipate that we're still a year and a half out.
Different people have different ideas about what justice is, because I've seen and heard a lot about why not just go hang the guy now, why not just go do this or that. Well, that's just not the way things are done.
North Idaho-based attorney Jim Seeby says the amount of extremely labor-intensive work necessary is mind-boggling.
When you have something as substantial as a capital case, you're in it full tilt is really what it is.
Even what appear to be relatively simple motions can take, a month to be heard and maybe longer to be decided.
Many of the motions filed so far centering around the evidence in the case.
Really, the direct evidence and the most damaging evidence is the DNA. The other evidence, obviously all circumstantial evidence.
Well, there's quite a bit in the affidavit that was made public following the arrest, and a few morsels that have come out before. We don't really have an idea of the bulk of the evidence in this case.
And both agree going through all of that evidence takes time.
Getting your arms around discovery itself for the defense, takes a number of months.
So could impaneling a fair jury, at which point both attorneys believe Kohberger's defense will file for a change in venue.
So in a case with this amount of publicity, the juror pool in the county itself is most likely to have more knowledge than the average person, more likely to have a predetermination as to guilt or innocence.
If the trial is in fact moved to another county in Idaho, all of the players remain the same, including Judge John Judge presiding over the case, prosecutor Bill Thompson, defense attorney Ann Taylor, and their entire staffs, which Seeby calls the very best of the best.
Those involved in this case really have it together. I think the big thing to hope for is that they can achieve a fair jury, and then that justice would be done with however that comes to be.
That's when true justice is been met and has been served, is by letting the process proceed as it was intended to protect everybody's individual rights.
And because this is a death penalty case, Curtis tells me that Kohberger's defense team is challenging everything they can, including the grand jury indictment against him. He says it's their responsibility because ultimately their client's life could be on the line. Reporting in Moscow, Guy Tannenbaum, NonStop Local.
Still to come tonight on the Idaho murders 1 year later. We sit down with the families of Kaylee Goncalves and Ethan Chapin. Both families have been vocal in their fight for justice in this case, their fight to remember these 4 students, these young lives. Stay with us. We'll be back next with my in-depth interview with Steve and Christy Goncalves. Christy and Steve Goncalves are 2 of the strongest people you'll ever meet. Class, character, strength. Both times they've allowed me into their Idaho home. Their daughter Kaylee, one of the 4 students killed a year ago. Steve promising to be at every single court hearing. He said, quote, "I want him to look me in the eyes." I've sat down with the Goncalves family twice now, and this last time, a year removed, you can see a change in them, the fight as strong as ever. But the reality that their little girl really is gone forever is, simply put, crushing.
Somehow, rolling into November really has, I didn't really think much about it. People would say it to me and mention it to me, and of course, I'd be like, yeah, I don't need to be reminded, but there's something that has came along really strong with this month of November, and the weather and everything that came along with it has some deep, significant reminders of losing Kaylee and Maddie, and it's been rough. It's been really rough, and you just miss them, and the longer they're gone, the more they miss, and the more you miss them, and the more you realize how badly you really have been robbed. All of our pictures, that's all we got. All of our videos, that is everything we have of Kaylee. And it just is, it's insane. It just is crazy that she was just here last year. Today she was here.
There's just no right way to do something like this, It's something a family should ever have to go through. So we're just going to kind of try to figure it out as it happens. But we lean on the community and the people that we've met and all the love and all the support that we get. And there's a massive amount of support, not just locally, but literally worldwide.
Let's talk about the wheels of justice. Last time we talked, there was a date. It's been moved back. It's been pushed back, right to a speedy trial, pushed back. Just where are you with the legal system right now as we are in November, and what do you expect going forward? And what do you want to say on that? I want to give you an opportunity to voice where you're at.
It's gut-wrenching. It is literally gut-wrenching how slow everything has to go. It's like, why does this have to be so drawn out? I mean, I know it sounds crazy. Well, it's important in this. I get it. It is important. But, like, there's facts. We have certain facts and we have certain knowledge. And I just can't believe that this is how it works. This is how it works.
They had the whole schedule laid out.
Yeah.
You could see
we had the dates.
It was right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And then it's taken away.
And then
that has to just be agony.
Yes.
And then now, 2 months or almost, and have no date. And then even today, people are like, oh, Christy, we got some progress today. And I'm, like, progress? December 1st? That's not progress. That's a whole nother month away. But they're like, well, it's better than not having any dates. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
You are right. It is.
That's important to bring up, that there's some people who never even get to find the person who did this. So it could be way worse. We think the police department, Moscow, the FBI, I'm still learning about what they did and how they put things together. And it's amazing the resources we were able to have. We'll do whatever it takes as a community to get this person taken care of, and so we can all move on.
With that type of determination from law enforcement, from the investigators, does it at least provide, basically, if I'm listening correctly to what you said, it at least gives you some solace?
Yeah.
A little bit of comfort that there's somebody and you're not fighting this alone.
Yep. And when I see them going into that house and constructing a crime scene and going through and doing all their work, it's just more evidence. It's not less, it's more evidence. So then when we do go to trial, there'll just be more good days than there is those what if days, like what the heck happened today. There's going to be a lot of those good days where we get to see all these things.
Well, I don't think it'll be good days, but...
Well, knowing evidence and knowing that they've got the right person, and everything is just being laid out.
I just can't imagine. We think we don't have a lot of answers. I just can't imagine a mother with a missing child, or a dead child that you have no idea how it happened.
Some people still think their kid might be alive, and they don't know.
But that says a lot about you both. In your absolute grueling, most agonizing time, you also think about others.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I do want to shine a light on the darkest year that you've had. Unbelievable. There have been periods of kindness from people you know, from people you don't know. What has that meant to you? Maybe give us an instance of something that took you back, that people went so far out of their way to say, we care about you. We are so sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have received a tremendous amount of gifts. And every single one of them are absolutely meaningful to me. We get pictures drawn by little kids that says, my 9-year-old drew this. She just really wanted to. And, it's a picture of Kaylee and Maddie, with flowers. It's meaningful. I love it. I love getting that stuff and opening it and reading them. And people write you letters, like pages and pages and pages. And every single word that they say, you find so much comfort in it.
It's
so
helpful.
Much. And yes, and they're telling us that they're crying with us and they're grieving with us and they have kids like us. For example, that picture over there.
Describe that picture, because I've seen it.
That is a picture of Kaylee, a real picture of Kaylee in the arms of Jesus, welcoming her into heaven, is what the feeling I got from it. And like I said, when I unwrapped it, it was face down, and I turned it around, and I about fell to my knees. I honestly, it really took me back.
And that came from an artist in Alabama that you don't know?
Nope, we don't know her.
What did it do for you when you first saw that, for both of you?
It still helps every single day. You come in home, you see it. Yeah, it's her smile, but it's a picture that you imagine and then you get to see. You get to see it in real life, and it's medicine in a way.
It's so real, like lifelike. Like it's just, and I've always loved that picture of Kaylee. I love that picture that they use of Kaylee, and the Jesus that they use. There's many different renditions that people will use of Jesus, and
this strikes home.
Yeah, I love looking at it.
You two, every time we've met, have shown class and strength. That needs to be recognized and highlighted. We appreciate that. And I want to give you this opportunity to have the final word, whether it's about Kaylee, whether it's a message to the community. Both of you just have the opportunity to say what's on your heart and what you feel you need to say.
I would have to say, the same thing. Just thank you so much to our community, to our friends beyond.
We'll never pretend like we'll be the same. We'll always be missing her, but we'll be reunited with both of them. And there'll be some stories and some catching up to do.
Steve and Christy were so warm and welcoming as we met this month. We are so grateful to them for continuing to share their daughter's story with us. When we return, Ethan Chapin's mother sits down with NonStop Local's John Webb. Stacey Chapin talking about her family's deep grief and her son's lasting legacy. The Chapin family has been the definition of strength in the face of unbelievable tragedy. NonStop Local's John Webb sat down with Ethan's mother, Stacey Chapin, and they talked about a year without her son and what she's doing to turn grief into action.
On a beautiful star-filled October night, triplet children were born, and oh, what a sight. 3 healthy babies, what could we say? Such a joyful, amazing, and momentous day. He was amazing, and he was that way from the very beginning. But there was something incredible about that boy who wore blue. His bubbly personality immediately shone through. Day after day, the boy who wore blue woke up happy and went to bed happy too. God, he was a character. I mean, he lit up any room. And that's what we all miss the most in him, I think. He just had a funny joke to tell. He just had this magnanimous personality. He could walk in the room and it just elevated any situation. He was amazing. He was an amazing kid. We're fortunate to have had him in our life for 20 years.
Looking hindsight, he really touched a lot of lives.
Shocking. And we had no idea. I mean, it has been a year of people literally coming out of the woodwork that we literally had no idea. Kids that he sat in class with.
Is there one thing that you miss the most about Ethan?
Oh yeah, I miss hugging Ethan. He was definitely a mama's boy. He always wore this blue Patagonia coat. I'd give anything to go back and be able to have another hug from him. Yeah. Day after day, the boy who wore blue woke up happy and went to bed happy too.
How have you been? It's been about a year. How are you doing right now?
I think overall we're doing very well. I mean, all things considered, right? Going into a year, it feels a little bit more emotional, I would say. Because we're starting, the news things and the vigil information for the University of Idaho was just released. I mean, it just brings back, it's like, my God, we've been a whole year without our kids. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, but, we can't change the outcome. We've said it all along. And so we've really tried to focus on Maisie and Hunter and, the things that we've created in Ethan's memory and that we're really proud of. And so, But the kids are good, and you know, Jim and I are great, and that's what we have to spend our time focusing on.
Something that you posted on social media caught my attention. You said that you were told to look for a victory every day, even if it was the tiniest little victory. You say that was excellent advice.
It was excellent advice. I'd give it to anybody who is in any kind of tough situation. You know, you have to get up and you have to find something. It might be the taste of your coffee in the morning. It might be a little flower that's growing in a crack in a sidewalk. You have to find something that you look at that just is like, okay, that's the good that I found today. And there were days we've done that. We've literally, you know, there are about 5 months that I call it the depths of hell, but where you just literally have to wake up every morning and think to yourself, I don't know what in the hell just happened to my family, right? I mean, legitimately. And so you start looking for those things. We came upon the Sigma Chi house Monday morning, November 14th. And it was very early in the morning. And those boys, it's a profound moment in the journey that we've taken over the course of the last year. Those boys were flocking out of that house. Their mothers had called them home, literally. I need to hug you. I need to love you. I need you to come home. And it left us, like, they like had their pillows underneath their arms and they were just hopping into their cars. Like they were just driving away. They'd left everything at the fraternity. And it was a very moving moment for us. It was, you know, another moment that said this kid had touched all these lives and these hearts. And we saw it again at the memorial and at the vigil and every time we go to the Sigma Chi house. And wherever he went, the friends would all swarm. This tale, this story of the boy who wore blue, is a message for everyone, including you. That's what I have left of Ethan, is to be his voice in memory of him. Life is short, so give it your best. Be happy, smile, and encourage the rest.
She's an incredible woman with a lot of strength. Stacy's book about Ethan, The Boy Who Wore Blue, is available for purchase online. After the break, as Stacy said, each of the families lost a loved one, but their friends lost 4. We return to the University of Idaho campus to talk to students about moving forward, but never moving on. Welcome back. Well, it started off like any normal Sunday, but then tragedy when Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves lost their lives. 1 year later, their fellow vandals continue to grieve deeply, but are finding ways to heal together as time moves on. NonStop Local's Ava Wainhouse was in Moscow speaking with students on campus.
Here at the University of Idaho, the pain from last year's horrific murders is apparent. But what's even more apparent is the work being done by students to move past it. The road to healing is a long one, but it's a road the students here tell me they're walking down together.
It has that sense of depth that you can feel and the somberness that's still there in the area.
From November of 2022 to November of 2023. Time has allowed a lot to stay the same in Moscow, and it's also made room for a lot of change.
It feels different, and there's a sense of sadness that truly hasn't left the community, and I don't think it will for a while.
Olivia Nemi is still here. She's the first student we spoke with after the murders of these 4 innocent and young lives. Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Goncalves, and Ethan Chapin.
No one would have ever imagined something slightly like this could happen in Moscow, Idaho, in such a small town.
1 year later, their memories continue to flow through campus. As students walk by on their way to class, they're trying to move on. Many of them didn't want to speak about the murders anymore. Understandably, it's just too hard. Yet they do say, this is something you can never forget.
It's never going to truly be the same again, and there might be moments of bliss, but that's just a moment. It's never ever going to feel the exact same or look the same. Homecoming, for example, was really hard for a lot of people because that was a time that we all got to be together and celebrate and have fun. And a lot of us had to do it without 4 extra individuals. And that was a hard thing to grasp and figure out how to do it in a new light.
But the Vandals are remaining brave and bold through it all. This time last year, you could drive into Moscow and instantly be hit with sorrow. Public displays of love for the lives gone. Students and residents of Moscow alike praying for answers.
It's always hard. Every time I see a photo of them or hear another story coming from a family, it hits, and it's a hard one to hear, but it's one that I want to hear because I don't want their memories to die, and I don't want the stories of their families to go away.
And if it's up to the Vandals, their memories will never die.
We have a long journey ahead, and it's never going to fully be the same again. And I don't want it to be the same. Those 4 left an impact, and we are meant to have a different campus, a different university, a different community after that.
And many students here tell me they're planning on going to the vigil that will be held for Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee on November 13th. From Moscow, Idaho, I'm Ava Wainhouse, NonStop Local.
When we return, the University of Idaho has made resources available for students. They provided security for students in the weeks before an arrest. They continue to find ways to help current students and honor those 4 lost last year. Corey Howard has that story next. The small town of Moscow and the University of Idaho were thrust into the national and international spotlight a year ago. Now, with some new students and many returning ones, Corey Howard spoke with the university's Dean of Students about how, even 1 year later, reminders of the tragedy are everywhere. And that can be a good thing.
On this brisk autumn day, for the first time in many months, the backdrop of this memorial that still stands is law enforcement. The FBI collecting more evidence from the King Road house.
Last year was a stark reminder crime can happen anywhere, and violent crime happens everywhere.
But across the way, with the Vandal logo proudly shining above the campus of the University of Idaho, another kind of reminder is in motion.
It's about moving forward, but not moving past.
On this day, on this campus, born out of tragedy, for the past year, is the very definition of strength.
The Vandal family value has just really been reinforced, looking out for one another, caring for one another, and those have been lasting legacies from how we all came together from last fall.
Through support near and far,
I've heard from people from all over the world over the last year.
Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, that
outpouring of care and support just means the world to us,
has watched his students and his staff, his Vandal community.
We have alumni checking in saying Vandal strong. We've got your back. Let us know how we can help and support.
Persevere through unimaginable hurt.
I'm really proud of our students, how they navigated through it last year. Just nothing but absolute pride in being a Vandal myself.
And it's a community that, even in the face of international attention from what happened, continues to grow.
Last year we had our largest first-year class. This year we had our second largest.
And Eccles attributes that growth to the very foundation the university is built on.
I think how we responded last year reinforced the importance of what we place as far as the value of our students and their safety, care, and concern. I think that's a message that has resonated as well.
It hasn't been an easy road by any means.
What happened last year shook everybody to our core, without a doubt. It was a scary time on campus.
The process is not over.
I think some students still struggle with it, for sure.
But Eccles says the Vandal family has been doing everything they can to protect a safe learning environment. Practical things like increasing security. Ultimately, though, the culture has been cultivated by the Vandals themselves.
By students just showing up en masse to so many events, our athletic events, our plays, our programs.
Eccles says the university, as an educational institution, after all, has been offering students not only chances to learn, but to cope with loss through counseling and classes.
Students are utilizing the support services. They're showing up to our education programs. They're excited to be here. That's an infectious vibe that many of our students have.
To some, the changing colors and falling leaves can signal the end of a once vibrant season. But as the students at the University of Idaho shuffle off to class amidst the falling foliage on this October day, They do so knowing, perhaps better than some after the past year, that it's really just the beginning in the cycle of healing.
They have an absolute love for this institution, absolute love for their experience, and absolute love for the 4 vandals that we lost.
After the break, details on tomorrow's vigil for Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison. The student-led vigil happening on the same date their friends were taken, November 13th. We're back next. Tomorrow is officially 1 year since the day Kaylee, Ethan, Madison, and Xana were murdered. The University of Idaho is working every day with students, friends of the 4 killed to honor their memories. Mark the occasion with a vigil. Student-led vigil will take place at 6 p.m. on the administration lawn at the University of Idaho. Speakers will include friends and the Student Association president. The goal, honor their legacy and provide a place for students to heal together. It starts at 6 p.m. We will stream the vigil on NonStopLocal.com. Thank you for joining us for this special coverage, Idaho Murders 1 year later. Next, we'll have your local news and weather headlines. And as we leave you tonight, a look at what we all lost, 4 young, vibrant lives. 4 families grieving through the initial shock to the permanence of profound loss. As it was then, and as it is tonight, our hearts are with them all.